Um, I'm Ronit. My name is Ronit. Shalom. My name is Ronit. I'm from Israel, and I'm an Israeli activist, a mother, and one of the founders of an organization called Kahal. I'll speak today about the Israeli and Jewish side of circumcision. Circumcision in Israel is a very significant and important issue. The majority of Israeli men and children had this procedure done when they were only 8 days old. At least 90% of the male population in Israel is circumcised. Even though most of the people in Israel are secular, not religious, most of them are circumcised. The reason for these contradictions are simply two: education and disinformation. From a very young age, we are educated to believe that the foreskin is dirty, disgusting, might catch diseases, and even dangerous. This, in spite of the known fact that in many countries over the world, men are intact and still the rate of death or risky infections caused by foreskins is very low, or if at all. Okay. This contradiction is not presented in public and not explained. On the contrary, there is a kind of social brainwash going on and causing people to believe that an intact man is not clean and his body can easily get sick because of this. In Judaism, in addition, the foreskin is considered unholy and impure, and not cutting it will cause a punishment from God that might be ended with the death of this person. This is about education. And for this information, a real and objective scientific information on the importance and the functioning of the foreskin in sexual life and in protecting this body part is not presented on any formal document. Doctors in Israel educated in a very high level universities learn nothing about the foreskin, and in all their years in medical schools, they only study about bodies that are circumcised, as if a man is born like that. Also, the complications of circumcision, which are between 12 and 15% of the cases, are hidden from the public. Only the extreme cases where a baby is in life danger are published in the newspapers. I did kind of a private research to reveal the real numbers, these 12, 15%, by asking doctors on some specific cases and calculating the total numbers myself. When a baby arrives to an emergency room of a hospital, bleeding and in life danger or infection, the formal records will not mention the term circumcision. Instead, the topic will be an 8 days old baby bleeding or has infection in his genitals. This way, the term circumcision cannot be filtered out to enable tracking of these cases. Part of these complications are because circumcision in Israel is not under any supervision. There are no rules and no regulations. According to the law in Israel, anyone is allowed to circumcise a baby. Special knives for circumcision can be purchased in an ordinary knife store. And sometimes the seller will even explain and give advices to the buyer on how to cut the baby. When officials from the rabbinate in Israel are asked about complications rate, they will always state that it doesn't hurt the baby and that complications are very rare. Same if you ask high-level people in the Ministry of Health, which are almost always religious people. But even they know that this is not the truth. So circumcision is very deeply rooted in the religion, culture, and society in Israel. And therefore, it is wrongly considered as healthy without any complications, not traumatic, and even not painful because 1-week-old baby doesn't feel any pain. About half of the circumcision done in Israel are not performed by doctors, but by religious people called muhalim. That doesn't have any medical education. In these cases, right after cutting the baby's foreskin, an additional step is done, and it is sucking with the mouth the blood from the baby's penis. But in the last 20 years, there is a significant development and increase in the number of parents who decide not to circumcise their babies. The public media, social networks like Facebook, and accessibility to articles had all contributed to this progress. In 1999, there were only a few families that decided to leave their babies intact. And today we have tens of thousands of intact boys and babies in Israel. And there is another problem. Modern and secular people in Israel sometimes decide to circumcise their babies because they fear that their child will not be socially accepted in school or among friends because of being different. Also, the parents are almost always experiencing a great pressure from the close family members. To help such parents, we founded Kahal organization in the year of 2000. In Kahal, we have volunteers that give support in Facebook groups, create internet sites, answer calls in a special telephone line, and even ready to come to the house of a newborn baby right after the labor and support the parents with their choice. In this way, together, we make a change and progress. Now, I want to give the stage to Inbal, a mother of two little boys. And she will shortly tell her story about the decision and the way she made not to circumcise her sons. So please connect Inbal.
היי רונית, אני לא שומעת אתכם.
Hi, we can hear you. We'll be connected in a minute. You can start, Inbal.
Oh, good evening. My name is Inbal. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me for this special event, and to thank you, Ronit, which is a good friend and support me in the beginning, when I was pregnant. So first, I'm a mother for two lovely boys, 5 years old and 3 years old. And I just wanted to say that for me as a Jewish mother in Israel is not so easy, because Israel is a very big family, and they always have something to ask and something to say, and it's nice because it's a very big supportive family. But in this special about this special subject, it's not so easy to talk. And I thought when my story began when my sister had a baby boy 20 something years ago, I thought I saw it was very hard for her these days before, but she didn't have any any problems, any I don't know, she just did it. And that day I decided that when or if I will have one day a baby boy, I don't think I will be able to do this. And when I got married, I was 41. So I didn't think I will have baby one day. So but when I was pregnant and we knew that it's going to be a boy, I said to my husband, I don't want to circumcise him, and I think that it's going to be his choice, it's his body. And after 9 months of taking care of myself and for the baby, and I want all the good for him, and I cannot even think about someone to touch him and do something which hurts so much for a baby. When I see a mother take her baby girl to put earrings, I think, why do you do this, for a baby, or for a child, for 2 years or 3 years child. And now they're 5 years old and 3 years old. I think I did the right decision, and they don't have problems. Now they don't have problems. I hope they won't have problems with friends, or when they will grow up. I don't know, maybe they will. I hope they will understand my decision. I hope they won't be angry at me. I don't know, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I can explain this decision because I'm a mother. As a woman, I cannot see, when even now when they are fighting and beating one each other, and it's for me as a mother, I said, oh, it hurts. So I cannot understand how can I give my baby to someone and go to another corner in the room and cry, because I know that now my baby is having this pain. I think that's the point. And sometimes people ask me, he's going to be different and it's going to maybe, but more and more families now know that it's okay, and he's Jew. It's not a sign to be a Jew if you're circumcised. If your mother is Jew, so you're Jew, so you don't need it. And I like to I live my life as a Jew. I light candles to now it's Friday night. I just light the candles. I said Shabbat Shalom, and we have this evening this dinner. We bless for the wine and everything. I live my life as Jew, but I don't I don't need this. My boys, they put a kippah on their head on Friday night, and I don't feel like I need this for to know that my boys are Jew. That's it. If you have any questions or sorry.
Yeah. Can I continue or have to? Okay. Okay. So first, thanks very much, Inbal. I know your story, but I'm always excited to hear it again. And it's a story of many, many people, many mothers and fathers. Let's continue. Okay, there are many aspects of our activity against circumcision in Israel. One of the most interesting is not related to babies, but to adults. Israeli Jewish men, which were circumcised when they were only 8 days old. Now, when they are grown ups, and sometimes after they become fathers themselves, they realize the impact and scale of the harm that was done to them, the trauma of the body and the soul, and the violation of their human rights. They understand it and try as much as possible to regain the body part that was taken from them and restore their lost foreskin. One of them is Tamir Levy. Tamir, an Israeli Jewish man and a father, restarted a procedure partly developed by himself using a special technique that helps him restore his foreskin. And I asked him to join us and to tell his story. So, Tamir, please.
Hello, hi. Thank you, Anit, for the invitation, for the opportunity to speak about the message I have, which I think is very important for all adult men, Jewish or not, but all adult men which were circumcised. So I will speak about foreskin restoration. It's such a big subject, and it's very rich, and there's so many things to speak about it, but I will try to do as much as possible in 5 minutes. So how I reached foreskin restoration, well, like Unit said, I'm 37 years old. I'm a father of 4 children. 3 of them are boys. Happily, 3 of them are intact. No one were cut. And after my when my wife was pregnant with our first son, I started to research about circumcision, what its impact, and it was a process, and we decided to keep the baby intact, and life continued. I was very happy with our decision, and I just left it behind. And then when my second son was about to be born, I wanted to, I don't know, the whole thing about circumcision came up again. Obviously, it was true we will not do it again, but it's like I wanted to look at it again. And then suddenly, kind of a knowledge hit me that, okay, my sons are saved, but I was not saved. I was circumcised. All those things which I know now are implied on me. So it was kind of I was in a kind of grief about it, and I thought, okay, what can I do about it? Because it's very hard now. I cannot forget what I have learned. So I checked in Google and looked, what can I do? And I searched foreskin restoration, and suddenly I saw, wow, it's actually possible. And so immediately I felt like very optimistic, and I was like, for 2 months, I was just researching about it very much, and how to start, how to do it. And this is actually how I started. And basically, foreskin restoration, what is it actually? It's a process. For some people, it may sound like science fiction, but it's a very simple technique. Is every skin we have in our body, if you stretch it for enough time, you put enough tension, it will grow, it will become longer. So you use the same technique, and you just keep your skin, your penile shaft skin, and what is left from the inner foreskin, what is left after the circumcision, you put them under tension, under gentle tension. It doesn't hurt, it should not hurt. If it hurts, it means you do it either too strong or you don't do it well. And with enough tension and enough time, the skin grows. The target at the end is to have the glands covered by the penile skin, and by that the glands becomes protected again. It becomes moist, it becomes more sensitive. There is a process called decarnization, which actually it like when the glands is exposed, it grows like a layer of skin on it, and it kind of blocks the nerve endings we have on the glands. So with this moisture and the protection, this extra skin kind of falls apart or fades away, and the nerves are exposed again. And also you gain also the movement, the kind of rolling movement of the foreskin on the glands, which is actually the natural way to have sexual intercourse and to have for a man. Also, it brings a feeling of protection. I mean, I remember the first time I put I had my penis covered. It was not with the foreskin, but another device. And I was like in a wedding, and there's dancing, and it was the first time I tried it because I just got it on mail and the same morning. And I remember I'm like dancing, and I was like, wow, it feels so nice to have to be covered. It's like you have this, it's like there's this constant white noise on the background, which were annoying, and suddenly it disappeared. And I didn't notice it until it disappeared, and suddenly it was like, wow, it feels so good, because to have a circumcised penis means your gland is always exposed. You always come in contact with the underwear, with the fabric, and so it immediately said, okay, I'm into something really good, and I'm really into it, and now it's like with time, with my development, I'm actually restoring my foreskin for almost 5 years. I'm not done yet. I think I have another 3 or 4 years. But it's like I decided I have to speak about it with people, because people are not aware of it. And I was speaking with people that deal with sexuality and tantric sex and all this. And I asked them, do you know about foreskin restoration? And it's like some of them said, I don't know about it, nothing, or I've heard about it. And so I realized that in Israel, even though I guess 99.9% of adult male like my age are circumcised. I don't speak about the young generation now, but like a generation of the beginning of the 80s. And it's like there's a blind spot, and there's people go through a process of awareness, but they're not aware that actually they have a penis which is missing a very sensitive part. So for me, foreskin restoration is regaining the choice. It's regaining the choice of the men, the choice that we didn't have when we were circumcised. Circumcision is in a way a castration of the male, and this is gaining back the male power, the male sexuality, and it's kind of, for me, it's a victory over the kind of systematic circumcision over the years. And it's very, for me, it's like I have an inner call to spread about it and speak about it. So I actually, I wanted to show you some devices, how it works, but I don't know if we have some time. But I will show just if someone wants to see. It's like very simple. It's like this is a kind of example of a device. You put the skin here and the glands, and then it pushes. So basically, this is where the tension stays. There's many, like I said, it's a very rich world. There's many devices, there's many like scales. It's a whole process, but it's also a physical process and a very powerful emotional process for adult male. And I really recommend for male to do it. And so thank you also for the opportunity to speak. And thank you.
Very, very warm greetings to Israel. So you have still some time.
Yeah, I want to speak for a few more minutes.
Yeah,
possible.
you can speak for 10 minutes if you
Okay.
like. We're not in a hurry at the
5
moment.
will be enough. So am I in the streaming now?
Yes, you're in the streaming.
Okay. So first, thank you, Tamir. It was really interesting, and I think even very brave, the ability to speak about it freely. And as far as I remember, the device you showed was invented by you, but as you said, there are many, and I really appreciate. Okay, to summarize my lecture, I would like for a moment to touch on one more important topic, especially important, especially in the context of this conference. The global trend to stop circumcision is, of course, influencing Israel and shaping the Israel culture, helping to increase the number of parents decided not to circumcise the babies. In the last 10 years, there were a few attempts in some European countries to set up laws against circumcisions of boys and babies. Sweden, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and of course, Germany. All these attempts encountered voices of religious groups and institutions that blamed them with anti-Semitism. These claims are all wrong. We, the Israeli modern and secular Jews, we know that. Furthermore, I assume that even those who claim it, they knew that there is no anti-Semitism in these laws. We all know that the intention of these acts is to try and protect babies and children from mutilation, from risk to their young lives, and from harming their human rights. Those who claim for anti-Semitism, they know that they know that it is a very sensitive point in the European nations, and they are taking advantage of it, simply aiming to stop Europe from even trying to raise such an idea in future. I think that European countries should not allow this terrible procedure to exist at all within their boundaries. I hope that in future there will be a progress in this area and stop fearing for being blamed with anti-Semitism. I can understand the sensitivity in Europe and especially in Germany, but I want to represent the modern Israeli voice and to show that are so many of us that understand the real purpose of such laws, protecting the children and babies until they will be grown-ups and be able to take the decision on their own bodies. I'm calling the governments of Europe to stop hesitate. Okay, I'll finish my part just by saying thanks to all the people who organized, participated, and listened to this conference. I'm very excited that you did all this. and hope that one day soon we will be able to meet again face to face. We are the people who know the past and understand the present and the responsibility we all have today to give the children of tomorrow the right to be safe, protected, and intact. So, thanks everyone, and shalom from Israel.